Hello and welcome to your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 3rd of October. This is for the Sun or the Ascendant. Going to give you the broad themes to look out for, but please stay with me. I will go through each of the 12 zodiac signs to give you in much greater detail the key influences for each. Now this week sees Pluto end its retrograde, which began on the 29th of April. Pluto is also going to be linking with Mercury, the planet of communication, now travelling forwards and gaining traction in the sign of Virgo. And that's very much about clarity and precision. And the combination of these two can, if we choose to embrace their joint power, can help us to probe, to research, and to get really clear about some important strands in our situations. The problem is that Mars in the bright and bubbly Gemini is in a right angle with Neptune. And Neptune in the 12th solar house for us all, in a square with Mars in the 3rd, suggests that some of our desires can come from the subconscious, but also we may read or hear things. People may even indulge in gossip with this particular aspect, and that can then inform some of our other actions. And Mars, of course, is very much about desire. So that combination between Mercury and Pluto gives us a chance to try to make sense of some of the confusing energies that could be washing around. I mean, one of the things that could happen with Mars squaring Neptune, which goes on for the whole of October and the whole of November within 3 degrees, is that we can lose power. Our physical vitality is lower, and our thinking around our clarity can be blunted because, of course, like Virgo, Gemini is ruled, where Mars is, by Mercury, the planet of communication. So there is a real contraflow energy going on between these two sets of influences. Also, of course, Saturn and Uranus, which were so prominent in 2021 and at the start of 2022, are within 1 minute of being exactly square all through this week. So that in itself is something we need to really be conscious of. Uranus in the sign of Taurus, which is very much about land. It can be about food. It can be even about fashion, but obviously very much about daily money and our budgets. That's being challenged by Saturn in the sign of the collective, the sign of Aquarius. So we're all feeling the pinch. There are a lot of headwinds around the cost of living. Some of them, of course, are coming about because of mismanagement by governments. It's not all to do with what we're doing as consumers. There are decisions that have been made which aren't necessarily for most of our benefit. And of course, the war in Ukraine is also having an impact too. But that particular aspect, the one thing about it is that we've had a lot of practice to deal with it. But it will play out in each of the zodiac signs in its own way. And I will share about each of those in much greater detail. Now, towards the end of this week, the Sun starts to go into a really fantastic grand air trine between Saturn, which it's very close to being in trine with, and a bit broader with Mars. And that gives us an opportunity to use the expressive and air energies of each of those planets where they're located, in Gemini, in the Sun in Libra, and of course Saturn in Aquarius, to use the air energy of each of those in a really productive way. And on Sunday there is the full moon in the sign of Aries, and it is going to be in opposition with the Sun, which is pretty much in close contact with Venus, which governs the sign of Libra. Now, if you'd like to know much more about this particular full moon, please see below and you can check out my deep dive special video. But essentially, I think that Venus softens some of the potential tension that this full moon can create each year. But I think the Aries full moon is asking us to think about what we want as individuals. And the moon in Aries can be very immediate. It's not very considered. It's quite an urgent energy. Whereas the Sun and Venus close together in Libra are asking us to think about how we interact with others, how we balance things, how we disseminate information, how we embrace fairness, because those are very Libran energies. But I think the worst of this particular full moon is mitigated somewhat by Venus, but the wider influences at play on this particular event are quite challenging. And of course, one of those is Mars squaring with Neptune. So please join me for that deep dive. But if you would like to ascend above this zodiac broadcast and understand what year 2023 will hold for you personally, if you give me 3 pieces of personal birth data of time, date and place of birth, I can give you your forecast for 23, but you'll get the rest of year 2022 free. Plus you'll get your roadmap, your character analysis, which can guide you for the rest of your life and help you to seize opportunities, but also understand more some of the patterns that may have developed in your life, which are not so easy. And there's 30% off with my special package. Please see the link below. Finally, if you are new to my channel, I'd be honoured if you would subscribe. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. And if you're an ongoing viewer, thank you so much for joining me. So Aries, your week commencing the 3rd of October forecast sees the full moon in your sign as the week draws to a close. Your sign is very much about being independent, thrusting into action. You have Jupiter in your sign, which of course is very good. Chiron, the wounded healer, is also with you at the present time, but Jupiter is in a retrograde. However, this particular full moon, which occurs in Aries this week, is softened by that rather beguiling energies of Venus. So the moon opposite Venus can be very generous. And I think that even if a relationship matter does prove challenging this week, try to see the best in people. And I think our listening skills generally, we're all being asked to work on those. And I think that will be particularly so with you, because it would be easy to let your worries and anxieties get the better of you this week with Neptune in that square with your ruler. So those quick conversations we have, whether it's by text message or instant message or email, or just snatched conversations at work, or when we're passing people in the street, those are the ones that actually can cause quite a lot of mischief. However, the more penetrating energy of Mercury in its fine angle with Pluto does give you a great opportunity to grapple with the detail on more practical issues. But when it comes to Saturn's square with Uranus, I think if you are feeling that things feel a bit unfair, that would be completely understandable. Now next year, of course, Pluto is going to be moving into your 11th solar house. It's going to be a brief stay, and it enters for a much longer duration on the 21st of January 2024. And we are going to see a lot of changes which will be very favourable for you in particular, because you're very often the standard bearer for new approaches, and you often have the courage and self-belief to just go for it. But I think the more conventional energies that Pluto in Capricorn has been promoting since 2008 hasn't always worked so well for you. And if your sun is towards the end of the sign of Aries, or you have another personal planet in the sign, then Pluto may have been quite difficult for you over the last couple of years. So the key this week, I think, is to not react, not be triggered by some of the energies or conversations or snippets that you may hear. I think Pluto going direct on Saturday is going to be very helpful for you. But I think Mars's square with Neptune is going to be a bit of a test over the next 8 weeks for you particularly. So in that period of time, just be conscious of how your fears or your subconscious can impact on your everyday situation. And if there is a relationship matter that you need to work on this week, dialogue and listening are the two big things that you can invest in the situation to help the thing along.